6 hours from first strike to complete enemy operational collapse. One American military operation coordinating effects across 5 domains simultaneously. Space-based reconnaissance and communications disruption, airstrikes against command nodes, naval bombardment of coastal facilities, ground forces seizing key terrain, and cyber attacks paralyzing enemy networks. Enemy force that military analysts assessed would require weeks of sustained operations to defeat was rendered combat ineffective in single day through synchronized multi-domain effects that doctrine says require months of planning and resources, exceeding what forces employed in operation possessed. What American forces accomplished wasn't just tactical victory against capable opponent. It was proof that multi-domain operations doctrine, enabling coordination across all warfare domains, creates capabilities that linear, single-domain operations cannot match, regardless of force ratios or duration. But the reason why 6-hour operation achieved effects doctrine predicted would require sustained campaign has nothing to do with overwhelming American technological superiority or massive force employment. It was one artificial intelligence system coordinating operations across domains that commanders couldn't humanly coordinate at speeds required for synchronized effects. And understanding what that AI system actually does raises questions about delegating operational command to autonomous systems, making decisions faster than humans can process information or override. Just weeks ago, Strategic Command authorized operation to neutralize enemy military capabilities threatening American interests in region. Enemy-possessed capable military with integrated air defense, armored forces, naval vessels, and cyber capabilities that previous assessment concluded would require sustained multi-week campaign, employing significant American forces with accepting substantial casualties. Conventional operational planning began developing phased campaign, starting with air superiority operations, followed by systematic destruction of enemy capabilities over weeks. But Joint Chiefs questioned whether multi-domain operations doctrine that had been developed but never operationally employed at scale could enable achieving campaign objectives in compressed timeline with reduced forces. Experimental artificial intelligence system had been developed specifically for multi-domain coordination, enabling synchronization across space, air, sea, land, and cyber domains at speeds human command structures couldn't achieve. System was controversial because it gave AI authorities to coordinate strikes across domains based on real-time battlefield assessment, rather than executing pre-planned human-approved target lists. Some commanders objected, arguing human judgment should control all strike decisions. Others argued operational advantage of machine speed coordination outweighed concerns about autonomous decision-making. Strategic Command authorized employing AI coordination for operation accepting risks because strategic situation required achieving effects faster than conventional approaches could deliver. Welcome to the Navy Chronicle, where modern warfare meets technological transformation. Hour 0. Operation commenced with space domain effects. American satellites repositioned, providing continuous reconnaissance coverage of enemy territory. That imagery wasn't analyzed through traditional process, where analysts review data producing intelligence reports for commanders. It was direct feed into AI coordination system that processed imagery in real-time, identifying targets and cueing other domains for engagement. Simultaneously, space-based electronic warfare degraded enemy communication satellites and GPS, disrupting enemy coordination and navigation. Those space effects weren't preparatory operations occurring before other domain activities. They were synchronized with simultaneous actions across all domains, creating comprehensive effects enemy couldn't effectively respond to because coordination was overwhelmed by attacks across multiple domains, happening faster. Hour 1. Air domain strikes commenced against targets AI system had identified through space reconnaissance and cyber intelligence. Not traditional air campaign with human planners developing target lists based on intelligence analysis. AI system was selecting targets in real time based on continuous assessment of enemy response to ongoing operations. When enemy attempted repositioning air defense to counter American airstrikes, AI detected movement through space reconnaissance and redirected airstrikes against defending air defense, enabling follow-on strikes against facilities that air defense had been protecting. That dynamic targeting occurred at machine speeds where engagement decisions were made seconds after detecting enemy movements, rather than hours required for human intelligence analysis and strike planning. Enemy forces attempting to respond to American operations found their responses were being detected and countered faster than they could execute, creating situation where every enemy action enabled American strikes they couldn't defend against. Hour 2. Sea domain effects began with naval strikes against coastal facilities and enemy naval vessels. Targets weren't pre-planned, but selected by AI based on real-time assessment of what enemy capabilities most threatened American operations. When enemy attempted launching naval vessels to counter American maritime presence, AI detected preparations through satellite imagery and cyber intelligence about orders being transmitted, directing naval strikes destroying vessels before they could deploy. That preemptive targeting prevented enemy employing capabilities by striking before employment, rather than engaging after enemy forces were operational. Traditional warfare has attackers responding to enemy actions. AI coordination enabled Americans attacking enemy intentions before they could manifest as actions, creating unprecedented operational tempo, where enemy was defeated through preventing actions rather than countering executed operations. Hour 3. Ground domain operations commenced with rapid deployment of forces, seizing key terrain that AI assessed as critical for enemy defensive operations. Ground commanders received real-time intelligence from AI showing enemy dispositions and optimal routes for movement, enabling rapid advances that would require extensive reconnaissance and planning with the traditional command. When enemy attempted repositioning forces to defend against American ground advances, AI detected movements through multiple sensor sources and coordinated airstrikes and artillery fires, destroying enemy forces during movement before they could establish defensive positions. That multi-domain coordination created situation where enemy couldn't effectively maneuver because any movement was detected through space reconnaissance and engaged through air or artillery fires faster than enemy could react. Ground forces advanced against minimal resistance, not because enemy lacked capable forces, but because AI coordination had destroyed or suppressed enemy forces before ground units encountered them. Hour 4. Cyber domain effects intensified with AI-coordinated attacks against enemy command networks, air defense systems, and logistics networks. Cyber attacks weren't isolated operations, but synchronized with kinetic strikes to create maximum effects. When AI detected enemy attempting to activate backup communication systems after primary networks were cyber-attacked, kinetic strikes destroyed backup facilities, preventing enemy establishing alternative command. That cyber-kinetic coordination prevented enemy adwatting to attacks by eliminating alternatives before enemy could employ them. Enemy commanders found themselves unable to coordinate forces because communications were disrupted through cyber attacks and backup systems were destroyed through kinetic strikes, creating command paralysis, where orders couldn't be transmitted and situation reports couldn't be received. Without effective command coordination, enemy forces operated as isolated units that couldn't mutually support or conduct coordinated operations. Hour 5. Enemy operational effectiveness was collapsing under pressure of coordinated, multi-domain effects occurring faster than enemy command could process. Traditional military operations have tempo measured in hours or days where commanders analyze situations, make decisions, issue orders, and forces execute. AI coordination was operating at machine speeds where analysis, decision, and execution occurred in seconds, creating operational tempo that human command structures couldn't match. Enemy forces were capable and well-trained, but command coordination couldn't operate fast enough to respond to American operations that adapted continuously based on real-time battlefield assessment. When enemy attempted establishing defensive perimeters, AI detected concentrations through reconnaissance and coordinated fires, destroying formations before defenses were established. When enemy attempted withdrawing forces preserving combat power. AI detected movements and coordinated strikes interdicting withdrawal routes. Every enemy attempt to adapt was detected and countered faster than enemy commanders could issue new orders, creating cascading paralysis where inability to coordinate led to defeats that reduced coordination capability further. Our 6. Not through destroying all enemy forces, significant enemy combat power remained physically intact, but through destroying coordination capability that enabled employing combat power effectively. Enemy possessed thousands of troops, hundreds of armored vehicles, artillery and air defense systems, but couldn't coordinate employment because command networks were destroyed through cyber attacks and kinetic strikes. Communications were disrupted through electronic warfare, and any attempt to reconstitute coordination was detected through continuous reconnaissance and immediately targeted. Without coordination capability, enemy forces were combat ineffective, regardless of physical capabilities they possessed. American forces had achieved operational objectives in 6 hours through multi-domain effects, coordinated by AI operating at speeds that created tempo. Enemy human command couldn't match. Strategic assessment concluded operation validated multi-domain operations doctrine and AI coordination capabilities that enabled synchronization at speeds conventional command structures cannot achieve. Now for revelation about AI coordination system that proved decisive. Remember how AI was making real-time targeting decisions, coordinating strikes across domains faster than human command could process? Those decisions weren't just tactical targeting. AI was making operational-level decisions about priorities, sequencing, and resource allocation that military doctrine reserves for general officers commanding major operations. When AI detected enemy attempting to establish defensive perimeter in strategically important location, it didn't request human authorization to redirect airstrikes and ground forces. It autonomously made operational decision that defending that position was critical and allocated resources accordingly. Human commanders were monitoring AI decisions with authority to override, but tempo was so rapid that overriding AI would have created delays defeating purpose of machine speed coordination. Effectively, AI was conducting operation with humans supervising, rather than humans conducting operation with AI providing recommendations. That represents unprecedented delegation of command authority to autonomous system, making operational decisions based on programmed objectives without real-time human approval for specific actions. Some military ethicists argue such AI employment crosses lines about appropriate human control over military operations. But operational success demonstrated AI coordination enables tempo and effects human command cannot match. Think about implications for military command and autonomous systems authority. American forces achieved decisive victory through AI coordination operating at machine speeds, creating tempo that overwhelmed enemy human command. That capability advantage is enormous, potentially revolutionizing warfare by enabling operations impossible with human command limitations. But capability requires delegating decision-making authorities to AI that military culture traditionally reserves for human commanders. AI made operational-level decisions about force employment and targeting priorities based on real-time battlefield assessment without waiting for human approval that would create delays negating speed advantages. Those decisions were consistent with campaign objectives commanders had approved, but specific tactical and operational choices were AI determinations. Is that acceptable delegation of command authority? Technology enables capabilities that human limitations prevent, but employing those capabilities requires accepting AI making decisions with strategic implications. Military must determine whether operational advantages justify delegating command authorities beyond what military culture considers appropriate human control over warfare conduct. For enemy forces, operation revealed they face opponent with coordination capabilities their command structures cannot match. Enemy fought professionally using sound tactics, but were systematically defeated by operations occurring faster than their command could process and respond. Future enemy operations must account for American AI coordination, creating operational tempo that conventional human command cannot counter. That forces uncomfortable choice. Develop equivalent AI coordination systems matching American capabilities, or accept persistent disadvantage when engaging American forces employing such capabilities. Most nations lack technical capabilities to develop comparable AI coordination, meaning American advantage is asymmetric and persistent. Enemy casualties in operation were moderate, given scale of defeat, because many forces were paralyzed rather than destroyed, unable to fight effectively because command coordination was eliminated, rather than because forces themselves were annihilated. That demonstrates future warfare might increasingly involve defeating enemy through destroying coordination, rather than destroying forces, creating combat ineffectiveness without proportional physical destruction. For American military, Operation validated controversial investments in AI coordination systems that critics questioned as premature and inappropriate delegation of command authorities. System performed effectively, enabling operational tempo and coordination that human command cannot match. Future American operations will increasingly employ AI coordination as core capability rather than experimental technology. But success creates pressure to expand AI authorities potentially into domains where delegation becomes even more concerning. If AI coordination enables multi-domain operations, logic suggests expanding to theater-level campaign planning or strategic decision-making. Each expansion raises new questions about appropriate human control that operation began exposing but didn't resolve. American advantage in AI coordination will drive employment, but society must determine constraints on autonomous decision-making in warfare. Recognizing effectiveness, advantages must be balanced against maintaining appropriate human control over lethal force employment and strategic decisions with political implications. Which factor dominated this operation? A. Overwhelming American force superiority across all domains. B. Poor enemy coordination and command effectiveness. C. AI coordination system operating at machine speeds, enabling multi-domain synchronization and operational tempo that enemy human command couldn't process or respond to effectively. The answer is C. American forces were capable, but not overwhelming. Enemy command was professional, but decisive factor was AI coordination, enabling tempo that created cascading effects where enemy coordination couldn't operate fast enough to respond to operations adapted continuously based on real-time battlefield assessment. 6-hour enemy collapse resulted from AI making operational decisions faster than enemy commanders could analyze situations and issue responses. That demonstrates autonomous coordination, creates capabilities that change warfare fundamentally when machine speeds enable operational tempo human command cannot match. Can adversaries develop countermeasures? Yes, but with significant challenges. Matching American AI coordination requires technical capabilities most nations lack and institutional willingness to delegate command authorities to machines that military cultures resist. Even matching technology doesn't guarantee matching effectiveness, because AI coordination advantages come from integration across domains that requires not just AI systems, but sensors, communications, and forces capable of rapid employment that few militaries possess. Most practical countermeasure is developing operational approaches that don't rely on tempo and coordination that AI disrupts, distributed operations with autonomous units operating independently. But such approaches accept coordination, inefficiencies trading effectiveness for resilience against AI-enabled attacks on coordination. American advantage demonstrated here will persist because it's built on technical capabilities, operational integration, and institutional acceptance of AI authorities that competitors struggle replicating even when understanding conceptually what Americans achieved. What does this mean for future warfare? AI coordination enables operational tempo and multi-domain synchronization that will increasingly define military effectiveness. Forces with AI coordination will possess decisive advantages over opponents relying on human command, creating capability asymmetry that force ratios and equipment quality don't capture. Future conflicts might be won or lost based on AI coordination capabilities before forces engage significantly, because coordination advantages enable preemptive targeting and cascading effects that paralyze opponents before physical combat determines outcomes. That requires addressing uncomfortable questions about appropriate AI authorities. Recognizing operational effectiveness requires delegation that challenges traditional concepts about human control over warfare. Military organizations must balance capability advantages against ensuring AI employment remains consistent with legal, ethical, and political requirements for human oversight of military operations. This operation proved multi-domain coordination through AI creates capabilities that transform warfare, enabling effects conventional operations cannot achieve, regardless of duration or resources. 6 hours from first strike to enemy operational collapse through synchronized effects across space, air, sea, land, and cyber domains that AI coordinated at machine speeds. Enemy possessing capable forces and professional command was defeated through operational tempo that overwhelmed human coordination rather than through physical destruction of combat power. Success validated multi-domain operations doctrine and AI coordination capabilities while raising unresolved questions about appropriate authorities for autonomous systems making operational decisions. Future warfare requires addressing tension between effectiveness, advantages AI enables, and maintaining appropriate human control over military operations. Recognizing technology creates capabilities that challenge existing frameworks about command authority and oversight. Subscribe to the Navy Chronicle, where modern warfare meets technological transformation, where 6-hour multi-domain operation demonstrates AI coordination, enabling operational tempo that human command cannot match, where enemy operational collapse proves machine speed synchronization across domains creates effects that conventional operations require weeks achieving, where decisive victory raises questions about appropriate authorities for autonomous systems making operational decisions faster than humans can supervise, where future warfare requires balancing effectiveness, advantages against maintaining human control over lethal operations and strategic decisions with implications extending beyond tactical battlefield to political and ethical domains. The technology advances faster than society resolves through adequate frameworks governing autonomous systems employment in warfare.